The real truth about inflation. Inflation is an economic term that refers to a continuous increase in the price of goods and services. The average price of some items has been steadily increasing for decades, leading many people to fear inflation. In this blog article, you'll learn why inflation isn't that scary after all and how it can be good for your wallet. What is inflation? Inflation is a general term used to describe the increase in the cost of goods and services over time. Basically, inflation is an increase in the price of goods and services, which can make it harder for people to afford the things they need. There are a few different types of inflation, and each has its own effects on people and the economy. Here's a look at each type. 1. Price inflation. Price inflation refers to the increase in the cost of goods and services over time. This type of inflation can make it harder for people to afford the things they need, because the cost of these items goes up faster than their income. For example, if you have a $50 bill and it takes 10 minutes to earn $1, but after 10 years that $1 will only buy you half as much because of price inflation, then your $50 bill will only buy you $25 after 10 years. Price inflation can also have negative consequences on the economy as a whole. When prices go up faster than wages or other incomes, more people may become unemployed or unable to afford basic needs like food or housing. 2. Unit price inflation. Unit price inflation refers to the price of a single item or good in a certain economy increasing at a faster rate than the cost of goods and services. For example, a chocolate bar might increase in price every year with no change to its size, but if the ingredients that go into making it increases in price more quickly than the cost of making them, then you will no longer be able to buy that same chocolate bar for less money. Unit price inflation can also occur on an international level when energy costs increase more rapidly than other countries' wages, which makes products made from oil more expensive. 3. Goods and services price inflation. Goods and services inflation is when prices rise for all goods and services in an economy at the same time. Types of inflation. Inflation is a monetary phenomenon that refers to an increase in the general price level of goods and services in an economy over a period of time. There are 3 types of inflation: price inflation, value inflation, and cost inflation. Price inflation. Price inflation is when the price of goods and services increases over time. This type of inflation can be caused by a number of factors, including an increase in the supply of goods and services, a decrease in the demand for goods and services, or increased production costs. Value inflation. Value inflation is when the value of money decreases over time. This type of inflation can be caused by an increase in the supply of money or decreased demand for money. Cost inflation. Cost inflation is when the cost of goods and services rises over time. This type of inflation can be caused by a number of factors, including an increase in the cost of materials, labor, or other inputs used in the production process. Causes of inflation. There are a few different causes of inflation. The most common cause is when the government prints more money than it can actually print, which causes the value of the currency to decrease. Another common cause of inflation is when businesses increase their prices to make up for an unstable economy or to take advantage of consumers who are desperate for goods. And finally, some inflation is simply due to a rise in the cost of goods and services. Effects of inflation. Inflation is a rise in the price of goods and services over time. When prices increase, people's incomes decrease, and this can lead to a number of problems. The effects of inflation can be negative for both individuals and the economy as a whole. Here are 4 ways inflation affects people. 1. It erodes people's savings. When prices rise, consumers are less likely to be able to afford to save their money. This can lead to a decrease in people's overall wealth, which can have lasting consequences for them and their families. 2. It causes debt problems. When prices go up, it becomes more difficult for people to pay off their debts. This can lead to increased borrowing costs and greater financial insecurity for individuals and businesses alike. 3. It reduces purchasing power. Inflation makes it harder for people to buy the things they need or want, which can reduce their quality of life. It also reduces the value of investments, such as stocks or real estate, over time. 4. It diminishes economic growth. When prices increase rapidly, it becomes harder for businesses to generate new sales and jobs are lost as a result. Solutions to inflation. Inflation is a very real issue that can greatly affect your finances. Here are a few solutions to help you deal with inflation and keep your money safe. First, be aware of the signs of inflation and take action if you see them. Inflation is typically marked by an increase in prices for goods and services, and an overall decrease in the value of your currency. If you see any of these signs, take steps to protect yourself and your money. Second, try to make smart financial decisions. When you know inflation is looming, it's important to avoid spending money on things that will go up in price over time, like cars or house prices. Instead, focus on saving money and investing it for the long term. This will help you weather any bumps in the road caused by inflation. Third, understand how to protect yourself from inflationary pressure. If you have debts that are subject to interest rates that rise with inflation, like mortgages or car loans, make sure to adjust your payments so that you're still able to pay off the debt in full even when prices go up. And remember, bankruptcy is not an option if you find yourself struggling financially due to inflationary pressures. Conclusion. Inflation is a common fear among people, but the reality is that it's really not all that bad. Yes, prices are going up every day, but this doesn't mean you have to go out and buy a new car or house. In fact, quite the opposite is true. By understanding how inflation works and what causes it, you can prepare yourself for the inevitable price hikes and live your life with more cash in your wallet. So don't be afraid of inflation. Learn about it so you can manage it better. Thanks for watching. See you on the next episode.